We are back, and it is great to be back. This is episode 6 of the Demo Guys podcast for July 3rd, 2025. I'm Sam Kaplan, founder of Brand Ambassador Consultants, joined, as always, by Jason Smith, the founder of Velocity Goats. Jason, we were off last week, both on vacation, but working at the same time. We were in correspondence talking about business items, but good to be back doing a show this week.
Yeah, it's great to be back. Thanks for everyone who's joining. I really appreciate the support.
And Jason, how was your week? What's been going on in your world?
It's been a whirlwind. I went to the Fancy Food Show, had a great show, met a lot of great founders. So much excitement at that show. I know Expo West gets the acclimates and everybody wants to attend Expo West, but if you don't attend Fancy Foods as a brand and have the opportunity, I highly recommend it. I attended Fancy Foods. I learned last week that Ithaca Hummus is moving away from demos completely at the end of this month. So Velocity Goats just got a lot stronger. I have the entire team moving over to Velocity Goats next month. I have coverage nationwide in Whole Foods and a lot of other retailers such as H-E-B and ShopRite Wakefern. And I'm looking forward to working with some brands that need, 50 plus demos a month, because honestly, anything less than that isn't really going to get you where you need to go. I don't want to lie to brands and take your money. I want to make sure that this is effective. It's going to be great for any brand who gets on, because we have a very talented team with a lot of experience. And I think they're the best of the best. So, please reach out to me at Jason. I just created the email. So it's jason@velocitygoats.net. So thank you guys. Really appreciate the support.
We also have Jason's contact information on LinkedIn on the ticker there. Jason's pretty active on LinkedIn as well. So if you want to get in touch with Jason, just reach out to him there. In fact, Jason, you and I actually have a call with a client, potential joint client later on today. So always looking for ways to work together. Excited for that call later on. But we're going to move on here to our CPG week in review, because we are coming in hot today. There's some crazy things happened in the last couple of weeks since our last episode. And, I used to work in the fight industry, mixed martial arts industry, for 10 years, which is the craziest industry there is. When I got into CPG, I thought, this will be a lot different, a lot more relaxed. And it is. But, every now and then you do get some fun drama. It's like Housewives of LA or New York, whatever. We've gotten some good CPG LinkedIn drama. And we're going to start out with a post that's gone viral. I'm going to put that post up here by Nick Agiluni. I apologize if I butchered the pronunciation of his last name there. But Nick is the co-founder of Truff, which makes a variety of different hot sauces, great packaging there. I actually, I'm a fan of the brand. I buy their product at Grocery Outlet. They get a good price there. So whenever I'm in there, I pick it up. So good product, good branding, good packaging, but not sure that this post was well advised. And this was one of two posts that we'll talk about. Opened up here by saying, this is Nick's post here on LinkedIn. Can someone explain why most founders these days spend all of their time writing inspirational posts on LinkedIn every time the smallest thing happens to their business? Is there anyone willing to just work and grind for 5 to 10 years without constantly needing attention and accolades? Is there anyone in it for the love of the craft anymore, or is it all about personal brand and outside attention? End quote there. So that was a fun one. And then Nick doubled down here with a post that really sent people into a tizzy. This is satirical, but it is his words. This just in: LinkedIn enacts new policy limiting CPG founders to one post a year per $1 million in revenue, i.e. 5 million in revenue grants. You post 5 per year. Sources say the policy intends to preserve valuable server space. Experts predict a nearly 90% drop off in new to market brands in 2026. So really surprised there. We see hot takes in the world of sports, Stephen A. Smith and, sports talk radio, but you don't really see these types of viral hot takes from CPG founders. Jason, what was your reaction when you saw that post come out?
Honestly, it's hard to like react to that without, pushing to one side or the other, right? It's one of those things like I want to remain neutral because I understand, like, you might look at the LinkedIn feeds and be like, wow, why are all these people bragging about these little wins? But I mean, I've been a founder. This is my second time as a founder, and I've scaled, a few brands myself, and I'm proud when I read. Like, I love to read those kinds of things. When I like, honestly, that is probably my favorite thing in my feed. I want to hear about wins, and I want to hear about losses. I want to hear about the struggles because I think we all learn from them a little bit, even a lot of it. And to me, that's what LinkedIn's for. And if you're not a fan of those kinds of things, then maybe you're not on the right platform. That's all I can say. How about you, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's he's perceiving as some of these humble brags as self-indulgent, and maybe in some situations they are. But for a lot of people out there, they're excited. They want to share news of their wins with like-minded community members, and really, if you're in CPG, it's very hard to connect with people that are going through the same things that you might be in terms of sacrifices and hurdles. And LinkedIn CPG specifically is a great community that I have found. And there's some other communities that are now popping up, but LinkedIn's still very strong in that regard. And there's people out there that have been doing this for a long time, and maybe they are, really accomplished, strong entrepreneurs. But I do find, in my experience, a lot of CPG founders of really smaller emerging startups, in quite a few situations, this is their first entrepreneurial enterprise, and they haven't had that journey yet. This is, they're taking their first steps, and from their perspective, some of these wins that maybe longer tenured CPG entrepreneurs find old hat. They've accomplished these things 20, 30 years ago. These are their first steps for these other founders. And it is a big deal to them. And what is the harm in them talking about it in a community that they consider to be a safe space for them? And I just don't understand Nick's, it seems like there's some annoyance there, and he's not alone. There's other people that experience that, but you have the option to just skip over the post, not read it, or mute that person, unfollow that person. So I don't understand why some people get so annoyed by that. But from my perspective, if you're a founder out there, I, like Jason, enjoy hearing about your wins, your struggles, your accomplishments. I read it all. I enjoy it all. I find it all very insightful. So from my perspective, I would tell you, keep on posting. Not a big deal. And what I would also advise CPG founders, big or small, and really I would advise any CEO in any genre, in any vocation, there is no reason to really ever go negative on LinkedIn. It is a bad idea. You're not Stephen A. Smith. This isn't ESPN. You're not getting compensated for viral takes. That's great that Nick probably got a lot of attention, a lot of likes, a little bit of engagement farming, but is he being compensated for those views? This isn't YouTube where you've got subscribers and you get views and you get paid for that. He's potentially putting himself out there. And I know some people agreed with him and they loved the post, but it was polarizing. There's going to be a lot of people that do not like the post, that are well connected in the CPG community. Maybe they work for a hedge fund. Maybe they work for a VC firm. Maybe they're a distributor, and they see that, and maybe it just rubs them the wrong way. There's no need, from my perspective, as a founder of a company or even a CEO, C-level executive, to go negative on LinkedIn. That is not the best utilization of LinkedIn from my perspective.
Well said, Sam. Well said.
And some other crazy stuff that we'll transition to that's the wrong one. Has anyone seen Amy Yang from Better Brand? Because there are some people looking for her. And Better Brand is a product that I'm not even sure if it's still in existence. You may have seen it at Whole Foods or Sprouts in the past. I actually have consumed the product in the past. I was pretty intrigued by it when it first came out. They came out with the Better Bagel. You see a picture of it right there. And they came out with some other better versions of bread products that were lower in carbs, better ingredients. And it was sold out of the frozen section. Well, it looks like Amy and Better Brand, they've had some struggles over the course of the last year. There's other things that have happened. And if you're not familiar with Better Brand and you want to get some entertainment out of your weekend, just Google it, look it up. All kinds of crazy things have happened. But what we're talking about specifically is a BevNet article by Adrienne DeLuca that appeared recently. And, there are creditors that are looking for Amy Yang, the founder of Better Brand. She took out a loan last year in 2024 for $500K and never paid it back. And people are looking for her. Creditors are looking for her. And according to the research I've done, they tried to serve her with papers back in September of 2024. And no one has been able to locate her since October 28th of 2024. Attempts to serve her with legal paperwork have been all for naught. They can't find Amy Yang. So if you do know where Amy Yang is, you might want to let some of her creditors know. They'd find that pretty interesting. But my guess, Jason, and I'm not Sherlock Holmes, if I was a betting man, I would say that Amy Yang, probably not in the country. She probably took some of that money and is on a beach somewhere outside of the United States. Any thoughts there, though?
Go on and take the money and run, Amy. That's all I can say. I hope you're enjoying your time in Thailand, wherever you are. But, I was a big fan of the concept too. I'm shocked, honestly. And one thing I'll say to that is a small business owner, fortunately I don't have to rely on loans at this point, but those who do, I'm not throwing shade at them all. It does really hurt everybody else's ability to get those kinds of loans down the road, because every creditor, fool me once, shame on you, me, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. So, it's a shame that it went down like that. I honestly think it's a viable product. So, but that's just my 2 cents.
Better Brand, more like better pay your bills, Amy. So we'll keep things moving here. We're going to, this is our supplement show. We've been promoting that. So that's going to be our main event for this week. We'll get into our favorite supplements and tips and tricks in a little bit. But before we do that, we promised a special announcement. We are going to have our second ever masterclass, primetime edition. Jason and I are going to discuss Winning at Whole Foods, a Winning at Whole Foods masterclass set for Wednesday, August 20th at 7 p.m. Eastern. It will be available on LinkedIn Live and also YouTube Live, free of charge. It's something that we feel like some consultants could charge for. We aren't going to charge anything for it. We feel like it's pretty timely to do it in August, because I know a lot of brands, they're getting geared up for back to school season at Whole Foods. There's a lot of displays, a lot of new products that get brought in to Whole Foods just before the kids are back in school. And you're going to be encouraged to do demos, and you should, but we want to make sure that you're doing demos the right way and promoting your products the right way and getting the full maximum advantage of the opportunity you're getting at Whole Foods. So looking forward to that on August 20th. You'll be hearing more about that in the episodes and weeks to come here on the Demo Guys podcast.
Looking forward to it, Sam.
And with that, we're going to kick it over to the main event. It's the supplement show. Jason knows a little bit about supplements. He is a former nutritionist and vitamin manager for Natural Grocers by Vitamin College. I'm not a huge expert on supplements other than the fact that I take a ton of them every single day. But we are going to present our favorite supplements that we recommend to our viewership, but also we will incorporate some demo strategies. I've got some very strong opinions about ways that brands have made a not so great first impression on consumers by sampling their products in a less than optimum way. But Jason, I'm going to kick it off with, obviously one of my favorite supplements. I've got the visual here. I'm not sure if you can see it. The light's hitting it. You might recognize the logo. Lion's Mane by Organic, by ON, Organic Lion's Mane Mushroom Powder. I've always loved mushrooms from a taste perspective. I've been eating them, since I was young, but several years back, I watched a podcast, the Joe Rogan podcast. He had an expert on mushrooms, and I had no idea about the functional benefits of select mushrooms. And one of the supplements that was discussed was Lion's Mane. I became very intrigued by it, so I figured I would give it a whirl. I wasn't sure whether or not it was snake oil. Was this just a hyped up concept that, I would invest money in and no benefits from it. But I found within 4 to 6 weeks, I did experience benefits from a cognitive perspective. I felt more creative. I felt like I was a better problem solver. And, people can tell you that something works, but, you're the ultimate judge. And I'm a results oriented person. So just because a doctor or a nutritionist says, oh, you should take this, it's going to work, I need to see results. And if I do get those results from an anecdotal perspective, I'm in. So that is my first selection there, Jason. Lion's Mane Mushroom Powder by OM. And one thing I want to add, Costco. Love you, Costco. Got a great supplement section. You need to get more invested in the functional mushroom space. That is one of the few areas where I feel Costco's lacking right now. I would love to be able to buy OM at a great price at Costco.
Well, I don't have any visuals. So, I'm going to go 2 routes on this. So I'm going to do a formula that I helped create just playing around as a vitamin buyer at Natural Grocers and Sprouts. I was subject to a lot of samples. So I got to play around a lot with it and mix some things together, maybe not having the best results all the time, but I did live and learn some for everybody else here. There's 5 key supplements, and obviously I'm not a doctor. This is just advice. I can't prescribe, and I'm not trying to prescribe. But if I'm just trying to maintain a healthy diet and live a healthy lifestyle, there's 5 supplements I recommend. You want a whole food multivitamin. It's gonna carry you through with some of the other places where your diet might be lacking in nutrients. It's always really good. I always like to do a whole food based multi. I love Mega Food. I've been a huge fan of Mega Food for years and years. Not the only supplement in the game, but one of the best by far. I highly recommend a probiotic, a really good, strong, it doesn't have to be super strong. You see these 50 billion, 100 billion. Honestly, for maintenance, I think 5 billion is plenty every day, but just keeping up on your gut health will increase your immune health really quickly. Vitamin D3 is so important. People lack vitamin D. It's crazy to me what is recommended for vitamin D intake. It is just not enough. Your body creates like 15,000 IU of vitamin D just after 15 minutes of sun exposure. Your body needs it. And everybody's like, well, sun exposure, that's cancer. That could cause cancer. Vitamin D, kind of anti-cancer too. So look into that, but just, it's a very much needed nutrient. And the other 2 that I definitely want to play, enzymes are so important. Your body, to break down food and nutrients, has to work really hard. When you take an enzyme, especially pancreatin, because your body only makes
cut out there. Some connectivity. We're back. I think we had
sorry. I don't know where I left off. So the ones that I went through, a whole food multivitamin, a decent probiotic, vitamin D3. And then I was touching on enzymes. Enzymes are so important, especially pancreatin. And then the other one that I'd add into that is CoQ10, which will also be part of my supplement mix. CoQ10 is your mitochondria energy in your cell. It's anti free radical. It's a super nutrient. Just trust me on this. If you're a runner or anything, try CoQ10. Adding it to your lifestyle. Obviously, if you have someone with high blood pressure, things like that, it's also very beneficial if you're taking statins.
And then I'm going to go to my next selection here. I've talked about it before, so we won't spend too much time on it, but this is called Magic Mind. I'm staying on the cognitive theme. This is something that I take on a regular basis. I'm trying to limit my caffeine intake. My name's Sam, and I'm a caffeine addict. So I was consuming way too much caffeine during the day. I needed to cut back. I'll never completely be off caffeine, but I needed something that could give me a little bit of an edge, bring some sharpness to my daily grind. And Magic Mind has been a tremendous results-oriented addition to my supplement attaché. And what I would say is this, my Magic Mind, I seeing you pop up more and more in retail. They would be a dream client of mine because I love the product. So anyone watching this, if you know someone from Magic Mind and you can make an introduction, I would love that. But those are the 2 from the cognitive perspective. Jason, any more that you wanted to add here? I've got a couple more that I want to cover as well.
I just have to, because I can never pronounce this correctly, so forgive me. So give me a second. ATP. I want to do the formula I was speaking of. I played around with a lot of nutrients and figured out how to to stimulate ATP stimulation. If you don't know what ATP is, I'm just going to do it in layman's terms, explain it to the best I can. So ATP is adenosine triphosphate. So what that is your body creates it. And it creates it basically mostly from carbohydrates and sugar sources. What it does is, say you're trying to out sprint, right? And you can only sprint so long, that because you're using ATP energy, and ATP energy burns really fast in your body, and it's not sustained for a long time. So you can't sprint nonstop. You can't just endlessly sprint. Like, obviously you see some of these super runners, and they are manipulating their ATP storage by using some kind of supplement. I almost guarantee it, because when they're running that fast, most of our bodies just cannot sustain that, because our ATP burns so fast. And then you have to stop, and then you can sprint again, because your body will recreate ATP, but it'll do it faster if you take these supplements. So the ones I recommend: creatine. There's a lot of great press on creatine, brain health. There's so many benefits to creatine. The two mistakes I see with creatine is people take it, but they don't consume enough water throughout the day, which is to your detriment, and taking it with caffeine. Creatine will dehydrate you with caffeine. So you have to be a little bit more careful of your timing with it. So I always recommend it away from caffeine. Take it away from your coffee, take it away from your energy drinks, take it at night if you need to, but definitely take creatine. Another one that I love, the coenzyme Q10, like I mentioned. Ubiquinol is the active form of it. You want to look at it. It's a little bit more expensive. I know it's gonna be worth every penny you spend. I notice a significant difference if I don't take CoQ10 every day. It's such an important, like I said, it's your energy and your mitochondria. It's a cellular health, free radical fighter, which also plays in alpha lipoic acid, ALA. You got another really strong antioxidant. It keeps from free radicals. Also does a lot of things to help your ATPs, regenerate faster. Acyl L-carnitine is another one with that. And then I like to mix in D-ribose powder. It is a sugar source, but it's also instant energy. It's so good for your body. Highly recommend looking into these supplements. Obviously, I'm not a pro. For mushrooms, quadriceps also play a huge role in ATP. So go ahead, Sam. That's it.
Well, I want to follow up on the ATP, because, for those that don't know, Jason is a veteran of our United States Armed Forces, served in the Navy. And I have other friends that have been in the armed forces, and they, is ATP something that you learned about while serving in the Navy? Because I know some guys that I used to train with in jiu-jitsu, they're special forces. They were always being given certain supplements that would allow them to have greater stamina, because sometimes they would go into a theater of war and on a mission, and they didn't know when they were going to get their next night's sleep. Is that something that you learned about through the Navy, and if not, were there any other supplements or things that the Navy tried to encourage you to use in order to perform better?
So I was I'm not going to lie, I wasn't a SEAL. I was in the Navy. I was an operations specialist, or what most of the people in the Navy call a scope dope. Really, I looked at radars, and I controlled the guns, and I landed helicopters. That said, I had a top secret clearance, and I was on a ship as an amphibious landing dock, and we carried 1,000 Marines deployed, and we had a SEAL team, SEAL Team 5. And the SEALs all had top secret clearances. And I was in the only air conditioned space on the ship. And in the Gulf, everybody wants to be in air conditioning. It's so hot, right? So all the SEALs would hang out with us. And I actually started training with the SEALs all the time. And that's actually how I learned about ATP. And they taught me and these guys were the ultimate fighting athletic. Like, I honestly have never, until you hang out with SEALs, it's just amazing what they can do. Like, their bodies, I've never been able to imagine but a lot of that is too, the proper nutrition, the proper supplementation, obviously consistent training.
And from a CPG perspective, if you are a supplement founder, there is potentially an untapped market for you. I know that when I was with Super Coffee, a big account for us were military commissaries on bases. And really, the military in a couple instances I've heard stories where they've reached out to brands looking for, and usually it's based on energy, products that, can help, people in the theater of war on missions with energy. but looking for certain supplements that could be, manufactured to benefit the military. So not only is there the untapped market of getting into the commissary, but I've heard of situations where the military reached out to certain brands and said, "Hey, can we get this coffee as an instant coffee in packets so that our specialists can take it on missions and store it in a backpack and then just pour it out, and energy supplements as well, and hydration supplements." So there's a market there that is by and large untapped to certain founders that aren't aware that it exists. And that is the military market, both being sold on bases in the commissaries, but also for mission duty as well. And now I'm going to move things along here and combine two of my selections, because I do take them together every morning after, especially after workouts. These are two different types of protein. This is collagen protein, and then also whey protein that I mix together after every workout. And, I'm going to talk about the brand here. I think we've mentioned Grass-Fed Muscle. I don't think it's sold nationwide. I know it's available at Kimberton Whole Foods, where Jason and I live locally in the greater Philadelphia area. I have seen some smaller smaller shelf space at Wegmans as well. But highly recommend not only whey, but getting a good quality whey. Earth-fed Muscle is tremendous from my perspective. It tastes great, no aftertaste, not cheap at all. But thanks to Kimberton Whole Foods, they run quarterly supplement sales. And if you're ever in the greater Philadelphia area, it's worth checking out their quarterly supplement sale, because they drastically reduce the prices of their supplements. And then collagen, this is Orgain. Orgain's great. Also, Vital Proteins is great. I go back and forth. I buy it at Costco, whatever is on sale. When I'm in there, I take it. But just really believe it, workout recovery, and then just a lot of the anti-aging benefits of collagen as well.
Now, collagen's a huge part of my lifestyle too. For anyone who doesn't know this, I'm skin graft about 70% of my body, and collagen is essential for my lifestyle as well. So great call out on that one, Sam. I do want to touch on what Sam mentioned about the military channel. I've played in that space quite a bit in my life. It's known as DECA for the actual, base stores, or, PX, whatever you want to call them. But then you have other channels. You can actually go through UNFI to get into AAFES and Nextcom and some of these others that are really awesome distribution. Margins, really sweet when you play with the military. You're right around a 25% margin. I definitely recommend working with a broker that specifies on the military channel, because they're going to know, they're most likely going to handle your distribution. They'll do everything for you. And if anybody wants to reach out to me, I love Elder Foods. There's a couple that I could recommend to you. Please reach out to me at jason@velocitygoats.net. I could definitely steer you in the right direction.
And then, I also want to double back on protein powders, because we are the Demo Guys podcast. And I want to stress to any founders out there, or marketing directors, or sales leaders at a supplement brand, you have to demo your product, and you should be demoing your product, because the margins, from what I've been told on supplements, best in the industry. I learned that after a lunch several months back with Derek Gould from Vibrance Marketing. So shout out to Derek there. So the margins are tremendous. You have the budget. You should have the budget to play with, but you only get one chance to make a first impression. And, it's the supplement space, great margins, but highly competitive. If you're a collagen protein, there might be 2 to 3, 4 other options on the shelf. If you're a whey protein, maybe 8 to 10 other options out there. A hydration powder, other options as well. So you got to make sure it works. And back in the day, during Brand Ambassador Consultants version 1.0, we're talking 8 years ago, I used to demo Vital Proteins, and we would make protein shakes, and they would give us this shaker bottle, and there was like a little shaker ball at the bottom. But collagen clumps. It clumps. And this little shaker ball, really wouldn't necessarily break up the collagen protein. And it wasn't always sampled to the customer in an optimum capacity. So you only get that first chance to make a good impression. You've got to make sure at all costs that your supplement is being sampled in an optimum way. And instead of going with this little shaker bottle, if you're a powder, I recommend investing real money in getting your brand ambassadors one of two things. This electric whisk. And this is a great call out here, because a few months back, I tested out Everyday Dose. It's like a caffeine powder, a coffee alternative, but I think it is just basically a coffee mix. And not saying anything bad about the product, it wasn't for me, but they knew that they got ahead of the issue. I think they knew there was dissolution issues with their powder, and they sent not this one, but they sent one of these with the powder. At no extra cost. So, if you know that there's limitations with your supplement, there's drawbacks, get ahead of it and compensate for that. And what I would recommend, instead of using the shaker bottle, making sure you're sending your brand ambassadors with an electric whisk, which you can buy on Amazon for about $5 to $10 now. But taking it one step further, if you're going to make shakes or some kind of mixture, this is a blend jet. And I bought this at Ollie's. Which I don't think is a national company, but it is it's here in the Mid Atlantic. It is their moniker is Good Stuff Cheap. It's a closeout store. They buy items on closeout and they sell it at a drastically reduced rate. I bought this blend jet for $5. It was a doorbuster. Went in, bought it for $5. They had a ton of them, and in hindsight, I probably should have bought out the entire shelf, because if I ever do get a supplement a client, I would just say, hey, we've got these blend jets. We're going to send them to the brand ambassador. In fact, we're going to let them keep it because it only cost us $5 to $6 to buy these blenders, and it's going to cost more to send it back. So you can get, a whisk or a small blender. If you do the research, you can get them at a bargain basement rate, and you'll make that money back and then some, because now you're going to be sampling your product. Whatever concoction that you need your brand ambassador to make in the field, it is going to be served at an optimum level. It won't be clumpy. Everything will be dissolved. Make sure you address that fact. If there is an obstacle with your product, and sometimes with powders, the cleaner the ingredients are, the harder, it doesn't necessarily dissolve as easy as products that have more junk in it.
Yeah, I can tell you when I remember sampling Vega when it first came out, and it was tough. It was very gritty. It was a great product, great ingredients, but man, it was a lot to mix, and we had that issue. I remember we were trying to sample it with just your usual shaker bottles, and just could not get the texture right. Would clump up. People would get grit in their mouth, and it wasn't working. So we went to a blender model, and it really helped the brand when we were sampling. And like you said, the margins on supplements and powders like that are so different than food. So it takes one, you sell one of those, it's equal to a lot of units of just a beverage or something similar. So, or something like in a food item.
And talk about clumpy. You and I talked about this off air a couple weeks ago. This is a hydration mix called Superior. I was given a sample at Kimberton Whole Foods. Jason, I believe you got a sample from Kimberton as well. And Jason, you remarked there was it didn't dissolve well. And I used my blender when I got it. I used my whisk, and it's I think my experience was 180 degrees different than yours. So, but that speaks to the power of making sure that if you do give someone a sample of your supplement, make sure it's being served at a peak level. Jason, I got one more pick here before I turn it back over to you in the event that you have more. This is a game changer for me and most people, especially if you're under the age of 40, you don't care about fiber. I'm over the age of 40, on the wrong side of 40, in fact. I don't want to share too much, but I've had some gastrointestinal issues as I get older. Went to a doctor, and like many experiences that I've had with doctors in the past, got some really bad advice. And I went into his office. He had all of this promotional material on his wall for this specific type of fiber. And he had a brochure that he gave me, and he goes, he swore by this fiber and said, I have to go on a high fiber diet, and that's the only fiber he will recommend. And it was a psyllium fiber supplement, and it was causing more problems for me than actual solutions. And it wasn't cheap. I would get off Amazon, but then I was at Kimberton Whole Foods. That's like the 80th mention I've made today of Kimberton on the show. And I discovered, just a great supplement brand. I've known about them for years, Garden of Life. And this is their organic fiber. They were discontinuing this smaller version. They've got a bigger jar now, but so I bought a few of them. Said I'm gonna try it out. This price is so cheap. If it doesn't work, I'll just throw it away. But it's organic, it's keto certified, good ingredients. But what it really, and nobody's going to be able to see this, but it talks about that it's non-psyllium, and it talks about why. And it was interesting when I read about what and it says it right on the ingredient. It is psyllium free, so that it doesn't brutalize the colon.
Yeah.
So this doctor who swore by this other fiber was prescribing me psyllium fiber that was brutalizing my colon. And I realized that's why it was creating more issues than not. So it's already, I'm not going to say specifically what I'm dealing with, but if there's going to be some people out there through deductive reasoning, they'll figure it out. But yeah, so I'm not saying that, Garden of Life raw organic fiber, it is the only way to go. But if you are in a situation where fiber supplements are being recommended for you, I would recommend giving it a whirl, trying it out, and seeing if it's a solution for you, and maybe is something that can help you out. But that's that's my old man tip of the day: raw organic fiber from Garden of Life, and just be careful of psyllium fiber. It will clean you out, but might make you work a little too hard.
Yeah, great call out on that. I don't have any other recommendations for supplements, but I want to touch on the fiber. Psyllium husk is very harsh. It's very, very tough on your digestive tract. And there's a couple other fiber supplements that are sold as fiber supplements I highly recommend avoiding. And the top one would be Senna. Senna is habit forming. So once you start taking Senna, yeah, it's going to flush you out. It's actually going to flush out more than you really want. It can really affect your nutrient absorption. Unfortunately for Senna, your body starts to slow down digestion without it. I don't want to get too personal, but I had a grandmother with this issue, and every day of her life she had to take Senna just to go to the restroom, and so it's a very personal thing to me. And then also the digestive resistant maltodextrin, not a good source of fiber, not a good sourcing. Usually it's GMO, it's usually from corn. Just avoid those three is what I'd say. There are, like you mentioned, the Garden of Life fiber. There's some really good products out there, so I would just be wary of some of the ones that I mentioned.
And that does it for the Supplements Show, episode 6 of the Demo Guys podcast. Jason, I want to thank everyone for joining us this week. We will be back in our usual time slot. I got all the technical difficulties figured out. I think, Jason, by now, I've gotten everything out of the way. I think I've gotten all the technical mistakes out of the way. Any mistake that could be encountered has been encountered and has been addressed. So we will see you guys next Wednesday, 8:30 a.m. on LinkedIn Live and on YouTube as well. And you can always catch the archived version on YouTube as well at the Brand Ambassador Consultants YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search Brand Ambassador Consultants. It'll pop right up. But for Jason Smith, I am Sam Kaplan. Happy 4th of July, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Happy 4th, everyone.